So if you know a redhead, you probably also know a sex worker. Not to say that all redheads are sex workers, that is not the implication there. Okay, so today we're going to be dealing with a topic that is also pretty serious, but not nearly as almost getting me to cry while recording as the one I've dealt with before. This time around, we're going to be dealing with talking. So, this episode, in the footage, thankfully, I was able to get good footage for this. The dancer's quest line involves her going to a snowy shithole. I can't remember the name of the town, admittedly, I didn't write that down. But her former servant, from back when she was a noble girl, a little kid with servants, because I think I've gotten into this before. The game very much is into the fantasy idea of like, oh no, they deserve to be in power and rich. Don't worry, they're doing the best for you. Though sometimes you see glimpses of, oh yeah, the great houses, yeah, they've been like fucking over civilians and shit. So anyway, this chapter of her story involves the former servant of her and her family named Ariana. And so when Primrose is seen by Ariana, while Primrose is putting on a little dance on the stage to try and get people's attention and then get information from them, Ariana is like, yeah, I can give you info on the dude you're hunting down. And so has her meet her over at I think they said it was a bunkhouse. It's a bunkhouse for sex workers. We're going to be talking about sex work today. And oh boy, I have statistics. So let's go into the personal attachment to the issue. The person that gave birth to me was to say she was a piece of shit is underplaying it. I got my half sibling and I were taken away from her due to just the gross neglect that we were experiencing, and so put into the foster system. I ended up with my old man's parents, which I still don't quite get how they were able to manage that. It's fucking wild, and it happened, like, I lived through it, and I still don't get how they got it. Thankfully, I think it was because her parents had criminal charges that actually stuck. Stuck. While my old man's parents didn't have criminal charges that they were stuck with and were public knowledge. Their crimes were, in fact, not recorded. Though later on they did commit some crimes and ended up in the paper. And that's one of the reasons why I can't really say my last name around where I live, is because I'm the white sheep of the family. I don't have a criminal history, but most of my other family members do. Ranging from animal abuse and neglect to hard drug usage. Let's see. One of my uncle, he ended up buying an underage person alcohol. He was a moron, and like at face value accepted. Oh, I'm 21. I just don't have my ID on me. And then the fucking kid just ran off and like told his dad that the dude that my uncle bought him alcohol. So it's just like, it really was just that fucking kid being a little shit fuck. I mean, yeah, my uncle shouldn't have bought him alcohol, but it's like, you got somebody to get you alcohol and you just told your dad, like straight up. Yeah, it's like, I think that kid went on to become a fucking, what did he do? He did some crime. I think he stole cars or something. So anyway, my birth giver, she was a piece of shit, but she wasn't a piece of shit because she was a sex worker. That was unrelated. Though the way she conducted her sex work wasn't ethical. I don't. I'm already this video already will not be getting advertisements basically ever because of what I'm talking about. But the horrible things she did, I think would just get a mark against the channel. I would get like a strike of some sort. So I won't go into the details, but so I've always had a complicated relationship with sex workers, especially of the nature where... Okay, so sex work covers a wide variety of activities. Strippers, I believe, are counted amongst sex workers. pornographers, especially those actually on the camera, they're sex workers because it's work in which there's sex involved. I'm trying to think of other ones. Cam girls, which is basically kind of, they can vary from being just kind of like a stripper to being more like hands-on, you could say. Yeah, there's a wide variety. So anyway, Primrose turned to sex work in order to be able to afford to live. She was not able to make it doing menial labor because, as we all know, doing shit work for shit pay does not make you, is not a sustainable way to live your life, despite the fact that society, in fact, needs things like plumbers. Actually, not just plumbers. Plumbers actually fix the toilet.
Yes.
We need janitors and the like. The people that do the shitty, dirty jobs, and in exchange generally don't get paid very well. I've heard garbage men actually get paid decently, which is good. But yeah, so unable to make a fair living, she instead resorted to prostitution. Though it also sounds like she got enslaved. Like they kind of dance around the subject. I've said before, fucking it's a pun. Non-intentional. Primrose is a dancer. And so, like, I think Ariana might be a sex slave, which isn't great.
Yes.
Not in the top 10 things to be. So, moving on to my next note, which is, yeah, we're getting into statistics, so I can help talk about these issues. So, the first one is that, and this is for the United States. There were statistics for across the world, but I wanted to focus on the United States because I happen to live in the United States. The old state of Michigan. So wet and wild. So, the full service sex work, which I believe is the, like, the hooker. Like, if you just want me to straight up say it, the hooker archetype of sex work. You pay and you fuck. They generate roughly $14 billion annually. And there's roughly 1 to 2 million sex workers in full service sex workers in the United States. Now, mind you, this is believed to be an underestimate. Now, what is the qualification to be considered in this? Like, if you have sex once for money, are you then a full service sex worker? Technically speaking, I would say yes. But that is a gray area. So let's say it's about 3 million. Last I checked, and it's been a bit since I checked, that's roughly 1% of the population of the United States. Mind you, I also believe that more than 1% of the population is also incarcerated, to give you an idea of how America is doing. More than 1% of the population is in prison. I'd have to look up that statistics. I don't want to click around too much, so that is an issue for a future. Actually, I might do it for the next game, because I hear that one character starts in prison. So, I might talk about prison statistics in that video. So, we're looking at an industry that is measured in the billions. It's a service, yeah, it's a service industry, and it's about 1% of the population, which is, I believe, around the same percentage of redheads. So, if you know a redhead, you probably also know a sex worker. Not to say that all redheads are sex workers, that is not the implication there. Just that chances are, if you've met a person that is a redhead, you also have somebody in your life that is a sex worker. Same for people that are trans. That's roughly around the same percentage, is about 1% of the population. So, now, this goes on to the next part, talking about why we should take issue with the treatment of sex workers, because this all goes back to hypocrisy and double standards. $14 billion is a lot of billions of dollars. That is so much money being spent by so many people that to then mistreat these service workers is... Imagine if... Going back to plumbers. Imagine if plumbers had a roughly 50% physical assault statistic of violence against them just because they show up and so let's say society treated plumbers as badly as they treated sex workers. Half of all the plumbers would get the shit kicked out of them by by the time they retire. Now, that sounds ludicrous, right? Kind of like how it's actually deadlier to be a pizza delivery boy than it is to be a cop. Food delivery, specifically pizza, because pizza is one of the most prevalent things to be delivered, is in fact one of I believe it is the deadliest job in terms of like dying while you're on the job. Because if you're a cop and you have a heart attack because you're fat and you're just sitting in your car half the time, they count that as a death on the job, and it counts as dying in the line of duty. They just don't advertise the fact that it was a heart failure. Getting past the fact that half of all sex workers get assaulted at some point. Mind you, this is not sexual assault. This is regular assault. I, in fact, tried to look into assault in general upon women unrelated to sex. That statistic is harder to find. I spent a solid 20 minutes because I'm a bit of a deadline. I've got stuff in the oven, so I was like, oh, I'll write the script in like half an hour. 2/3 of that half an hour was spent trying to find statistics on just violence against women, unrelated to sexual violence against women. It is so hard to find statistics of just violence against women that all I could really find out, because of just how prevalent rape is in our society. Mind you, I was struggling to find just in the United States. I found I was trying to focus, and I was like, okay, so United States physical assault against women, and it's always like, yeah, 1/3 of all women experience sexual assault by an intimate partner by the age of 50, and I'm like, holy fucking shit! I just want to know about the physical violence. Like, give me wife beating statistics. I mean, not even just wife beating statistics, because that's the thing, right? Is that women are overwhelmingly targeted because of both perceived social lack of value compared to men. Because, yeah, women are still basically treated as second-class citizens in the United States. The treatment of both men and women are extremely unfair. The expectations placed upon both genders are bullshit, and people should just be treated equal. I shouldn't have to be saying this, but we in fact live in a world in which both genders have unfair benefits and, well, let's see, negative is the opposite of a positive. Let's see, benefits and, I don't know, what's the opposite of a benefit? So, yeah, you suffer. Let's see, just additional fucking suffering just for what's between your legs. Or hell, trans people have to deal with even worse shit. So, let's just get back to the fact that there's so much sexual assault in the world that 1/3 of all women experience violence, sexual or otherwise, by the age of 50 from an intimate partner. Intimate partner, somebody that they've had sex with. That helps illustrate how pervasive through society at all levels, across all ethnicities, all religious leanings, everything, that 1/3 of all women experience awful shit, and that's just life. That's just how it be. And I struggle to truly explain just how awful that is to people. And that is why I want to bring it back to sex workers, right? So, sex workers are treated even worse, yet they are, to society, humans are a very sexual species. We're a very social species. Humans enjoy the fuck. They enjoy the fuck a lot. They enjoy the fuck at very minimum of $14 billion a year in the United States. And that's just fuck for pay. That's not including pornography, the sale of sex toys, which is also a both are multi-billion-dollar industries. Let's see. Strip clubs, I don't think that's included in, yeah, that's not included in any of these. Cam girls making a whole lot of money. And so it's just disgusting because it's all just targeting the most at-risk people in society, which helps display the fact that truly
Amen.
they the average person doesn't give a fuck about what happens to people in bad positions in life. That is why people are fine. That's why people were totally fine with slavery, right?
Ah,
And to this day, slavery still exists in the world, and a good chunk of our products made overseas are made by slaves. Or, even if they're not just slaves, very poorly paid child workers and the like. So I guess this episode is basically just me talking about how you should consider how you treat the most vulnerable people in society, that you likely know somebody that is engaged in sex work, and that you should treat them well. Because chances are they've saying that they resort to sex work denigrates sex work itself. But it is it's I'm trying to find a good way to word it. It is in effect a high risk, high reward sort of industry in which if you're what is it? It's not even comparable to anything else, right? Is you're risking your safety in exchange for maybe $50 an hour, sometimes less. And that doesn't add up very well. So I guess at the end of the day, we can really just say that be kind to each other and to yourselves, and to be careful out there.
what?
And I'll see you next time.